ask me about me, I think I wanted to be a fashion designer before I knew the term. When I was a very young kid, I knew that I had to do something with clothes, but I didn't know if there was a term called fashion designing or there existed a profession like that in specific. But from that age, I was very, very clear and very specific that this is what I wanted to do. And I think everything started with that, and my passion was very high in the line. So I started studying, and when I was studying, I was selected as an intern for a television. Then I started styling, and then that was something that I really liked. But then I figured out that more than styling, designing was my strength. And then I started designing from the year 2005, no, maybe 6. 2006 or sometime I started designing. And then I was always very strong with I was always very keen on learning this more than anything. My passion never was about to exhibit clothes, maybe. I don't know how people see it, but I always saw it in terms of learning it. Till date, for me, what gives me more pleasure is the thing that I can learn a lot of things from this. And every day when I come to work, I learn a lot of new things, and I try and implement a lot of new skills in my work. And that something gives me more satisfaction than anything, than people appreciating my clothes or anything. I think my personal inner self knows that this is the only thing that I can do, and I stick to that. No, I don't know. I don't remember. Maybe there was something that fascinated me. Even when I was a child, even still now, when I used to watch television, I still remember. If I have memories of my childhood, I have memories of movies that I watched, and particular scenes I still remember the costumes. So that's how I remember the movie or a scene or my childhood memories were. So I think there were a lot of things that influenced probably, I think. And I think especially the 80s, if I'm not wrong, it was Remington Steele or no, Barber, some English television show that was there. They had all this very 80s cuts and silhouettes that influenced me a lot. They used to have this huge puffs, sleeves and jackets with huge shoulders and collars. That was very fascinating, especially when I saw Michael Jackson and his clothes, his flashy clothes. They really inspired me a lot. So although my strength now is not in that pop style or anything, but yes, those clothes fascinated me a lot. Fashion designers, I think Karl Lagerfeld has been my god for the ability that the way he sustained and retained the brand when the brand Chanel was about to go down, and then he picked it up and he still retained the whole idea of Chanel, what it was. But every year he comes up with such amazing creativity. I think nobody could have ever done justice being in the confined framework. When Christian Dior was taken into some other hands, when shifted into a new creative head, its whole idea and its whole existence changed. When Yves Saint Laurent changed, every other designer, when new designer entered, it changed. But I think Chanel was one designer. Karl Lagerfeld retained it very strongly. And apart from that, his ability to work was something that inspired me a lot. And I think to a large extent, he is somebody who's reason for the forecast that we deal in fashion every year. So he influences a lot of fashion, and he kind of sets the forecast for the entire country and the world. So I think Karl Lagerfeld is definitely one of them. And if you talk to me about my favorites and in terms of silhouettes, I was huge fan of Alexander McQueen. And I almost cried a lot when he died. And then Christian Dior, John Galliano when he was heading Christian Dior, that was my favorite brand until John Galliano was heading it. I like his avant-garde and what do you say? It's more than avant-garde. I think it's a little dramatic, very dramatic. So I like clothes which are dramatic. So I've been inspired by people who could make dramatic clothes. And when it comes to India, I think Tarun Tahiliani is my favorite, and I think to a large extent even Gaurav Gupta, because the kind of silhouettes that they have are very unique. So silhouettes have always been inspiring me, and my idea of fashion was always about the structure than the embroideries, because in India what happens, the market for Indian fashion is a lot about embroideries and colors and bridal. But when in this limited frame, if someone can pick up a silhouette and make a new cut and present it, I think that's a great job. And Tarun and Gaurav Gupta, somebody who's done that very well. My strength is Western, although people do not appreciate me for that, or that genre of my work hasn't been identified as much as my Indian work is appreciated or purchased or accepted. I think because they lack that kind of occasions in India, maybe, and people do not want to spend a lot of amount on Western occasions then, because India is all concentrated, or Indian mentality is we live and we die for the one single concept of marriage, and so our whole life's earning and expenditure goes there. So we end up definitely being lehengawalas, and I have no regrets for that, but it's okay. But I think Westerns, yes, my strength was Westerns, and I would love to explore on that side though. I always was struggling. I struggled a lot for what should I call it, what should I call it, what should I call it. And then I was looking out for my inspirations and my ideas were always about human emotions and things like that. And then I was a person whose inspirations always came from human emotions. And then when I was doing this label, I was thinking, what am I that could represent? And I thought, I'm somebody who's mystic. I don't know if I could call myself mystic, but I always was fascinated with this country's spiritual ideas and philosophy, stuff like that. And then I thought, this is what I am, and I believed I was a monk myself, and fashion was my religion. And then attaining salvation is where I'm trying to head. So this is a guy, a monk who's traveling all over the country or picking up inspirations from every possible place. Or I do not even travel, because a lot of India is filled with so much of culture and so much of diversity and so much of emotion. So I try to pick up that and express it in the colors that we have. We are a very bright country. Our colors, we are very, very bright, and we are expressive in colors. So that's my major strength. So the idea was basically started where I called myself a monk, or I call the label monk, because his religion is fashion, and we are trying to attain salvation through the religion. My personal style, I think I'm deep-rooted Indian. So something that's, everybody says yes, comfort is important. I agree with that. But for the sake of comfort, you definitely can't dress up goofy. Comfortable clothes can look stylish. When people want to skip away saying that comfort is my style, I say I do not agree with that. So I'm somebody who's very comfortable in what I wear. My personal style, if you're talking about me, I would probably wear a little on the Indian side, and colors are my strength. But if you ask me about how do I design, Westerns would be my silhouette. But the colors and the fabric, I would still want to keep it Indian.
Okay.
So I'm still very deep-rooted Indian, although what my silhouette might be, or where I want to exhibit it, or which market I'm looking at, but my fabrics and my culture will definitely be depicted out of it. The one that we did last time was Extreme Serenity. That was another new label that we started called Mad Bob, with a friend of mine who's Bobby, and I'm Madhu, so it's called Mad and Bob, Mad Bob. So we did a lot of Indian fabrics again, chinderis, and we tried to give a lot of contemporary silhouette. The silhouettes were very Western, and the detailing was also a fusion of it. And the fabrics were very Indian, and it was summer. Basically, we did a lot of summer dresses. We did a lot of collection of skirts, maxis, and long dresses. The silhouettes were Western, but the detailing and the fabric was very much Indian. That's something that we did. And of late, I've done a collection for Halloween, so where we tried to keep the whole silhouette very avant-garde. There were trench coats, large jackets, overcoats, achkans, and few of them was dresses, long dresses, short dresses, everything fused together. Mostly all the collection was in blacks, and the inspiration was directly from Halloween, or rather say a dark character. I didn't want to pick up a specific vampire or specific a character of a devil or a demon, but it was very black, so the whole character was very black, and then that was depicted by the color itself and the silhouettes too. Silhouettes were very strong silhouettes, and the detailing was also very uh, large, and it was out of the frame, and we tried to create the frames out of the shoulders, and we tried to create larger silhouettes. We tried to create a lot of structures that went around, draped around the body, and then shoulders that were much larger than the original shoulders. So that's something that I've done. Off late these are the collections that I've done. I think I'm somebody who's been. I'm a person who loves art. So for me, art is more than anything. For me, my major passion is art. So I try to study. I try to listen to music in terms of art. Who wrote the song? How did they write? What the inspiration came from? Who composed the music? When I'm looking at the music, and when I look at the sculpture, why did a particular artist do something? Or when I'm looking at a painting, why did the artist chose this kind of an expression for that particular thing? So when I try and see everything in that aspect, I try and see what the emotion was. And when I try to understand emotions of everything around me, I get some emotion that gets connected to me. And from there I pick up. So it just suddenly happens. I mean, it's not that I sit and then I say I need an inspiration. So sometimes when I'm reading a book or watching a movie or watching a sculpture or a painting, I find a little emotion. Then I say, this is the collection that I'm going to do when I'm doing the next thing. Sometimes I'll have to put them on hold because we might be doing something for summer, and then this particular inspiration might be good for a fall winter. So I might shuffle, but the inspirations and the ideas can come any day, and then I try and make a note of those things, and then I try to work on them eventually when I have to do a collection. I think, yeah, the major strength, no matter how creative you are, the ability to be a good entrepreneur is very essential, because you need to manage a lot of workforce, you need to convince a lot of people. So ability to manage people is something that I've been learning a lot. I think I still lack it, but I'm still learning a lot, and that's some aspect that I haven't thought what I needed when I started it. But eventually convincing people for what you believe in, and then presenting it out there, and then and more than that, the process of execution, you need to convince a lot of people, and you need to make people understand that this is what you want. So dealing with people is a very difficult part for me, has been a very difficult part for me, and I think you have to be a good businessman. You have to be strong with your marketing. No matter how creative you are, you have to be very strong with your marketing. That's something that you have to look at. The other way also happens most of the times. What I see is that people are very good with their marketing and very less creative in terms of designing. But when that's the case, I do not know what to do. You have to be creative. Yes. Yes, that we have to. I mean, I follow a lot of forecast. The forecast council, whatever they release, I try and study that, and I study a lot of fashion magazines, and I have huge list of fashion designers who are my favorites, who has been international designers or national designers. So I try to understand what did they do and why did they do that for this particular year. How are they looking at future? What do they want to depict this year's collection, and how is it affecting the coming future of the fashion? So I think I study a lot about by understanding designers, what have they done, and when they even study a lot of history in the past, what have they done, to know, I mean, to be in that loop. And this is something that you have to be updated every year, and that this is the only way to be updated is to study about the forecast and observe a lot of big designers who's made their mark in the world. Yes, and that idea came because maybe in the year 2000, it started with all this recycle part, and maybe going back and coming back, or coming forth, going back and coming forth. But until then, I think until 90s, every era had very strong fashion influences. 60s has very strong things. In 70s had huge bell bottoms, huge collars and all. 80s had puff sleeves. 90s had peplum skirts and high-waisted skirts and those straight pants, Isalon trousers. So every era, a decade had a huge scope for fashion to emerge and flourish. But I feel with the internet happening, or with this very fast moving techno world that we are in, people do not have so much of patience to do it for such long periods. We want to do something for a very short period, and then we want to shift to something else. So I think it's for this reason now we are not able to establish any particular specific fashion as what 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s could do. So I somehow feel sad because if you do not create that in one particular genre, you could explore a lot. If you stick to a particular genre, you could explore a lot. But if you're shifting a lot again and again, what happens is you redo those things with a little modifications. I think that's something that we can work on, or people should work on. But I don't know if people have so much of patience. But fashion awareness, although, has grown a lot, but I think people are losing their style sense. People have become very fashionable, but people are no longer stylish. That's what I think in this new era. Of course, I want to go to Fashion Week. I'm trying for that, probably this year, or I don't know. I mean, the coming year, I'm looking for that, and that's how I want to see myself. And I would want to establish a Western line than the Indian line that I do. So I would want to shift my fashion, my creative ability onto the Western silhouettes, and a global, rather I would say a global silhouette, and cuts has to be a little more contemporary. I would like to do contemporary clothes than the Indian or traditional clothes. So that's where I want to see, and I would want to be in the fashion weeks, and probably, and I would want to start a small section of handlooms where I would want to weave things for my own self and experiment with weaves. So that's something that I'm looking at. I don't know when will I be able to do it, but I would definitely want to experiment a lot with handlooms. So it's a very tedious job. It's a very tedious job, and it needs a lot of hard work. When I started initially, and my passion was for this, so it kept me going on. But sometimes I used to get only 3-4 hours for my personal things. I was able to sleep only for 2 hours or 3 hours and carry on with the work, because this line, very important thing is the deadlines are very important. And it takes a lot of effort. You need to coordinate in a million other things for one particular outfit to turn out to be the way you wanted it to be. So it's very hard working job. So you need to be prepared for that. So, but it's fun. It's not like the other, I don't know, I cannot judge anything, but it definitely is fun. All the process is stressful, or not stressful, very tedious, but it's fun. It's really fun. It starts with the inspiration. Once the inspiration is in place, then we try to create a mood out of it. Once the mood board is done, then we go into we try and understand what are we doing it for, what market are we doing it for, and then what season are we doing it for. And then once that's done, we come up with sketches. Once the sketches are done, then we look into the color board, and then the texturing, what has to be textures, what has to be colors. Once all this thing is worked out, once the sketching is done, then we start developing samples. A lot of samples are initially made in embroideries and texturings. So once the samples are finalized, we pick up a couple of samples, and we out of a lot of colors we get to dye. We choose a set of colors. From that, we pick up a couple of them again, scrutinize and come up to a few set of colors. And then the fabric selection is already decided, fabrics are already decided. Then it goes to the cutting, pattern making is done, then the embroideries, the design development, and everything happens. Then it comes to the constructions. Once it comes to the construction, then the whole part comes is the fashion show, and how do you present it, how do you want the whole look to be, what do you want to be presented on, how do you want makeup to be, and all that goes into it. I think being stylish is very essential than being fashionable, because once you figure out what you are, what your body type is, or what you're comfortable with, no matter what outfit you wear, where you go, you cannot be conscious about your outfit. The moment you're conscious, you've lost it. So whatever you're comfortable with, try and experiment with that. Once you have a fashion style sense for yourself, you can always implement fashion into it. So it's very essential that we all figure out what is our style. The problem at this point, what I see is everybody is extremely fashionable, but nobody has a style for their own self. So yes, you look very beautiful in a particular outfit for this season that was done, but I do not remember you what you wore last year. So when you do that, we would not, if you wanted to be identified as a personality by yourself, then I think you definitely need to have a style than being more fashionable. I think you need to try a lot of things. When people say these are things, I do not believe in that. I believe in breaking every rule. And when they say you're short, you need to wear long stripes to look taller, you need to wear darker colors to look lean. I say, do not believe in any of those things. It doesn't really matter. What matters is who you are. That is what you are. Fat, thin, long, tall, short, whatever that is what you are. And if you do not want to embrace yourself in whatever form you are, no matter what you wear, you will still not be good. So break all the rules, try all the colors. When they say, a lot of clients come to me and say, I am dark, what colors do suit me? I mean, I say, I don't know where did this inferiority creep into this country. Everybody has this fear of complexion, I don't know why. So I think that is something that we all need to break. It doesn't matter how you wear. Just wear clothes and try. If you like it, that's perfect. And then you will eventually fit into it. You might not fit into it today, but don't get desperate of trying every new thing and trying to do all new experiments. Try a lot of clothes, and do not hesitate to try clothes. Try a lot of clothes, and then you will eventually understand what your fashion sense or what you could be comfortable and good with. Once you figure that out, you'll automatically start developing the style for it.